Hey everybody, it's Nick here at CrossFit 248. Today we're talking about the setup for the snatch. So I'm going to show you what that looks like and explain some really important things about that to get you snatching really well. So the first really important thing I guess we should talk about here is grip width. Give me 2 seconds. Okay, so grip width is super important for a snatch. So to find that, you'll kind of like raise your knee and let the barbell, you could use a barbell, rest across the top of your leg just like this. Let your knee drop and your arms should be out as wide as they can go comfortably. So we kind of err on the skinnier side for people who are newer. When you land overhead, if your hands are a bit closer, this just involves a little bit less strength and stability. So we kind of find or have found that it's maybe a little bit of a safer, more comfortable position for people who are new, unless you're extremely limited by flexibility. Over time, we kind of work out a little bit. We're basically trying to get it right where the top of your leg meets your hip on purpose, because that's where we want the bar to contact. The goal is to eventually get the snatch to kind of like brush up your hip so you can get that direct power transfer from your hip and legs straight into the barbell. So that's your grip width. The second thing we're going to talk about is actual grip on the barbell. I'm sure many of you know, some of you might not. When you do a snatch or a clean, you should be using the hook grip. So it looks like this. You're going to wrap your thumb around the bar and then wrap your fingers on top of your thumb. So we do the hook grip for multiple reasons. Long story short, keeping it simple, it just simply allows you to carry more weight comfortably. If you haven't been doing hook grip, it's going to likely be uncomfortable for maybe the first week or so, but it'll get better quickly. And over time, it'll be hard to imagine lifting any moderate to heavy load without that. So very helpful tool for us, not necessarily the first thing you should be focusing on. But it is an important aspect of the snatch and the clean and jerk. So, figured we talk about it. The next important thing is footwork in your setup. So your feet should be about hip width. This is just about where I start, almost exactly for a snatch or a clean and jerk. Feet right underneath hips. You'll see some variations, like some elite Olympic lifters or even not Olympic lifters who start very wide, some start very narrow. This gets right underneath your hips where you're comfortable like jumping from. That we find is just like a broad brush strokes general approach to the setup, which works very well for just about anybody. If you're new to Olympic lifting and you're basing your technique off elite Olympic lifters, that's an issue. They're elite. They're at a point where they to progress, they might be needing to do things that are not applicable to us or the average gym goer. So, you know, like early arm bend, all that stuff, would not pay attention to that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we'll skip that part completely. So now we have grip width, actual grip, and feet. Now we're going to talk about how you're going to orient yourself in relation to the barbell. This is really big. We see huge issues with people set up right up off the bat all the time. We see people starting with the weight in their heels, which is a huge issue. So all the time we'll see people who will start and they're set up like this with vertical shins and the barbell already touching their shins. So that leads to a lot of issues. The first one, just tearing up your shins, because in order to get past your knees, like if you're started here, it's very difficult to go back any further, and you need to in order to get past your knees without going around them. So people just jam their shins. It just causes a lot of issues. If you're really deep in your heels, you're already kind of off balance, I should say. It's not a good position to be jumping from, which is the most basic principle behind snatching and cleaning, is that you need to be able to kind of like jump the bar overhead comfortably. Cool? It's very difficult to do that off your heels. Much easier if you go off the balls of your foot, which is what we like to teach. So when we teach people they're set up, we want the weight kind of at the back of the ball of their foot, exactly like I'm showing right here. Let's see how close I can get. About right there. So if I was looking at your heel, I'd like to kind of maybe be able to slide a piece of paper underneath it. The big point that I want to drive home is just don't be super deep in your heels. This will cause people's knees likely to be more forward than is commonly seen, but it's how we like it. So today we're doing setup for a snatch. So this would kind of be like very similar to my setup. Cool. I'll get this way a little bit. As you can see, the weight is shifted towards right here. I'm definitely not starting my snatch like this. Last thing I'm going to talk about is where you're going to set up in relation to the bar, like distance from the bar in your setup. I think this is another huge thing. It's just related a lot to what we just talked about with people starting in their heels. But when I set up over the bar, when I look over the top of the bar, I want the barbell to be covering my last shoelace. So for me, it will be about here. If you can see, I'll pull my hand out of the way. So I literally want it to be covering my last shoelace. So when I walk up to the bar, I walk up, look right over the top. If I can't see my last shoelace, I know I'm in good shape. This will be leaving probably, I don't know, an inch or two. It's going to be leaving space between your shins and the bar, which initially makes some people uncomfortable because we're all taught to keep heavy loads close to our body on purpose. We know that. We know that the closer weight is to the center of our mass, the easier it is to control. It's a great thing, but in this setup, we need to kind of be set up in the perfect position so that we don't have to go around our knees. This space in the beginning allows us to eventually, which we'll talk about in the next video, talk about pulling our knees out of the way in the first pull. Cool? So, really important things about setup. Grip distance. Remember, it should be just resting about your hip. If you're very new, distinction maybe one finger width in. Next thing, hook grip. Use your hook grip. Third thing, we talked today about where the weight should be in your feet in the setup. Remember, back of the balls of your foot, right about here-ish. Slide a piece of paper underneath your heel. It should not be off the ground. You should not be completely off balance, but you definitely do not want to be in your heels. Last important thing we talked about is covering our last shoelace with the barbell when we set up. So that's all I got for you today. We'll have a first pull video for you soon.